Swamiji Jitendal, I am here.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Sushant.
Yeah, how are you, sir?
I am fine. And you?
I'm doing well, thank you, with your blessings. Yeah, I have checked that your audio is good, and I'm pretty sure that your earphones, I mean, this you are able to hear us also
Yes,
nicely.
yes. Here very well.
All
Any
right.
any corrections with regard to the audio or the video?
Everything is perfectly fine. I hope you are going to share PPT
Yes.
when the time arises. Then maybe you can share your PPT.
Yeah. Yes.
And so what I'm going to do when the audience is in plenty, and when the time strikes, I will read a little bit about your good self,
Okay.
as well as I will also give a reading uh, of the abstract of your talk.
Yes.
And then I will invite you to come in speaking.
Okay.
All right.
Wonderful. Yes, Sushant.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So there is 5 more minutes or or maybe a little more as
three,
the
3 more minutes.
audience come in, then
Yeah, we'll wait for audience. Maybe we'll wait for 5 more minutes. The audience will keep coming. And maybe at 5:32, we will start.
okay. Yes. So I will go on. Yeah. Video as well.
Good morning, everybody.
So we'll start in a couple of minutes, maybe one more minute, we will wait. So good evening, everyone. Today we are blessed to have a very wonderful personality, Professor Matthew Chandran Kunal, who is going to talk on a very wonderful and interesting subject, quantum spirituality. So first I will introduce a little bit more about Professor. Professor Matthew was born and brought up in Tikoi, Kottayam district, Kerala, where he finished his schooling in St. Mary's High School. Later, he joined the Carmelites of Mary Immaculate, CMI, where he got trained in religious life, philosophical and theological education, in addition to modern science, physics in this case. Ordained as a Catholic priest, he taught subjects like philosophy of science, nature and cosmology, etc. at Dharmaram Vidyakshetram, DVK, the Pontifical Athenaeum. Later, he went on to study at the University of Leuven, Belgium, where he defended his thesis in 1998 on the search for a causal quantum mechanics, comparing the interpretations of the Copenhagen mechanics and of David Bohm's Bohmian mechanics. During his research work, he had interactions with numerous Nobel laureates and physicists, namely Friedrich von Weizsäcker, Max Planck Munich, Age Bohr from Niels Bohr Institute, Copenhagen, Ilya Prigogine of Brussels, Peter Hodgson, Oxford University, Abraham Pease, Basil Healy, etc. After his research, he continued his services in Dharmaram Vidyakshetram in various administrative positions such as registrar, director of the Center for the Study of World Religions, director of Master's Philosophy, etc., teaching various subjects and guiding many postdoc, PhD, licentiate, and bachelor students. Professor Matthew Chandran Kunal received a CTNS Templeton Award in 2000 for integrating science and religion, and got consecutively 3 times a Local Society Initiative Best Leader Award with funding from a subsidiary of Templeton Foundation named Metanexus. He also got the opportunity to be the research associate of the well-known astronomer, history and philosophy of science expert, Professor Owen Gingerich, under whom he researched on the physics, philosophy, and religion of Galileo at the Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics and Harvard University, Boston, USA. During these years, he served as a visiting professor at few universities in India and abroad. He also got the Best Malayalam Spiritual Book Award in 2013 for Navajiva Sadhana, a narration of his spiritual journey. He is a founding member of various organizations such as Bangalore Initiative for Religious Dialogue, BIRD, and Sigma 11 Science Conferences, etc. He organized many national and international conferences and also lectured in various international and national conferences. Professor Matthew is basically a scientist, but his life and learning have stretched across several disciplines, they being humanities, religion, psychology, art, and aesthetics. So with warm heart, let us all welcome Professor Matthew Chandan Kunal once again. And there is a short video which I'll request our Shravan to play as an introductory video for this talk. Shravan, you can now. Thank you and congratulations to Bhaktivedanta Institute, Bhubaneswar, for this initiative of having such talks every Saturday. Everyone is requested to attend this talk. These talks, they start at 5:30 p.m. Now, moving on with today's talk, I'll just read little abstract about the talk. Human beings are endowed with matter and spirit. The physical, and pneumatic are integrated together to form human being. When there is an integration of all these diverse dimensions into a holistic continuum, there is a wholeness which leads to wellness, happiness, and holiness. Matter and spirit are opposites, and it is always contradicting each other. Hence, a human person is a chain where both the ends are matter and spirit, and we need to live these different dimensions in every context. The secular world drifts us into materiality, while the spiritual world calls us towards holiness. As the infinitesimal cells and atoms bound together to form the human person, we have to transcend our barriers through quantum leaps, quantum tunneling, and non-local connectivity to create a network of spiritual culture, enabling us to make the unseen warfare in the everyday lived experience. Great sages and saints from all spiritual traditions nurture us to cultivate this spiritual culture, to transform us, to create the kingdom of God in the world, endowed with peace, harmony, and progress. And to elucidate more on this subject matter, now I will humbly invite Professor Matthew Chandan Kunal, to commence his talk. Professor, you may now commence. You can share the slides and
So, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. I have seen that there are some friends who are actually from Europe and US, and for them it will be afternoon and morning. And I am very well grateful to Sushant Sharma for this wonderful introduction and coordination of today's program. Grateful to Swami Jitun Dal for inviting me to this program. I have often found that Bhakti Vedanta Institute of Bhubaneswar was actually associated with Dr. T.D. Singh. And Dr. T.D. Singh was a very close friend of mine when we used to have programs at Penn State University and many other places at US. We were together, and I always remember his smile on his face and the warm hugs. So all those very personal relationships enabled me to go deeper into the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, which is often known as ISKCON. And I have so many friends, and I had the opportunity to go and visit Mayapur, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place, and even the Bhubaneswar or Puri, where you have this Jagannath temple. So therefore, I came to know more about the ISKCON people. And even in Bangalore, we have this very famous, one of the landmarks in Bangalore of the ISKCON temple. I took many of my students there, participated in the Sankirtan. So therefore, it was such a very fascinating moment for me to interact with many of the disciples of Srila Sripada Bhakti Swarupa Damodaras Swamiji, who was a very close friend of mine. Unfortunately, he deceased, but he had done so much into the science and religion activities. So therefore, in his name, I thank you for this great invitation to give a lecture on the quantum spirituality. So as in the gist, we were able to listen to matter and spirit. I consider this as a great chain, a chain where we could also further explain into various other relationships. Matter is one end, spirit is the other end, then there is order, then there is chaos. So like that, we have many and many such chains. And by connecting these strings or the chains of the opposites, we could make a matrix of our own existence, and we can make a quantum leaps, non-local connections, and maybe some tunneling. So these are some metaphorical principles which we can derive from quantum mechanics, and we can choreograph our own life. I have seen that the ISKCON or the members of this ISKCON society, they used to dance and then they sing the Sankirtan. So maybe life can also be considered as a dance, the dance of an atom, dance of the whole cosmos. And we are part of this macrocosm, and we are resembling ourselves in this microcosm. So I am extremely happy to share my ideas, and I will now share the screen.
Yes, sir. You can maybe, bring to presentation mode.
Yes.
Yeah. There.
So I hope everybody can see it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you. So we can also see that the matter can be perceived from different perspectives. So I am looking from the perspective of physics. We can see that maybe from the Enlightenment onwards, we have the development of science, and then yeah, actually before physics, it was the philosophy, from philosophy to physics. And we can also see that, for the development of spirituality, maybe in the reverse process, we could see from the very beginning of humanity, there was a kind of philosophical reflections, and these philosophical reflections on humanity, what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose of life, where are we going, what is beyond life and death. All those are philosophical questions leading to some spiritual answers. And through the Western um, way, we could say that, the Enlightenment, the Renaissance, and from the Renaissance onwards, we see the development of science, and through mathematics. From the 18th century, we have the classical physics developed by many scientists together, which is known as either classical physics or the Newtonian physics, because of the three laws of motion and gravity. We also have the rigidity of the Cartesian coordinates, and gravity in Newtonian science, it is explained as falling of physical matter, or it might be an attraction, but they could not explain it completely, which led to the development of the special theory of relativity and the general theory of relativity, where the Einsteinian general theory was explaining about space and time transformed into the space-time. And what is actually gravity? Gravity is not a force, but it is the curvature of space-time. And also about the macroscopic universe, like galaxies, clusters of galaxies together, and the ultra fast accelerating bodies. And he was also using tensor as curvilinear coordinates. So we have the theory of relativity, and classical physics is explaining about the macroscopic universe. But we, in the beginning of the 20th century, we see that development of quantum mechanics. Max Planck, he was almost 20 years, from 1886 onwards, he was trying to understand what is the way of absorption and the emission of heat. And he came up with the absorption and emission are in terms of quantum, which is um, the least divisible element of energy. And basing on that, we see the development of quantum mechanics. And later we see that quantum mechanics itself has different interpretations. There is a quantum schism between Einstein and Niels Bohr. Many scientists were along becoming partners in joining with them. And there were debates, the quantum debates. And there are also different interpretations are evolving. So from this physical analysis of the universe, we could see that, there is the development of physics. Physics is leading to a philosophical applications, and from these philosophical applications, we could see there is a spiritual way of outlook which we can derive from it. So there is a movement from macrocosm to the microcosm, from physics to philosophy to spirituality. So whether we are deriving anything directly from physics to spirituality, but I would say that, this is a process. As I said in the beginning, there is a chain where one end is matter, the other end is the spirit. So we are on this movement. It is a choreograph of life. So as we were speaking about the quantum mechanics, I am not going to detail about the quantum mechanics, but I will be sharing some of the developments. As I said that, in 1900, December 14, quantum mechanics evolved or developed. Max Planck gave a lecture at the Humboldt University on almost 20 years of his research. That is where we can see that, he came up with the concept of quantum, that is the absorption and emission of energy or heat, and the least divisible element of energy, which we can see that, H, which is known as the Planck's constant, 6.63 into 10 to the power of minus 34 joules per second. And we could see that there are also other relations. You don't need to be closing your eyes or your ears because of these mathematical equations. This is the only equations which I want to project, but it is not to make you afraid. But I knew that many of the members of the Bhaktivedanta Institute are IIT students, and that is the reason why a little bit of physics. So in the equations which I wanted to tell you. So the first development is that of Max Planck explaining that energy is quantized. Its absorption and its emission are in terms of quanta. And the least divisible element of energy, we could also see that in mathematical fineness. So then we see that Albert Einstein is coming up with the study on what is light. We have the concept of light as a wave. Initially by Newton, it was said that corpuscular, they are corpuscles. But later we see that other scientists, they were saying that it is not a particle, but it is, excuse me, hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
I saw that, it has gone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see the screen also. Maybe you can bring it back to the
Ah,
presentation mode.
Okay. Somebody, I thought that, I have lost the connection. Sorry for the interruption. What happened to it?
These are the same slides, right? You can bring it to presentation mode.
Okay. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes.
Okay. So I was a little shocked. I lost the connection. Sorry for the interruption. So Albert Einstein was coming up with what is the light ray, and then he was saying that there is the particle, that is, it is not a wave, but it is a particle, and he was coming up with the relations. And then again, de Broglie, Victor de Broglie, another scientist who was coming up, if particles can become wave or waves can become particle, why can't particles become wave? So we have the de Broglie relations. And the third stage of the development of Niels Bohr is that of the connecting with the atomic structure or the physical matter and the quantum concept. So we can see that, initially energy is quantized, Second, all kinds of radiations are quantized. And third, the space is quantized. That is, Bohr was trying to explain the hydrogen spectrum, where the light rays, or we can see that in the hydrogen atom, there is an electron, and that electron absorbing quantum jumps into the higher orbits. As a metaphor, I can say that, if absorbing just one quantum, it will jump into the first level, two into the second level. So as it goes, and then this will be in an excited state, but it cannot remain in that excited state forever. So it will be falling back. As they are falling back into the ground state, it will be releasing the energy as light. So we have different colors: Balmer, Paschen, Pfund, and the other things. So these are the three different levels or developmental processes. And then we see that the mathematical structure, because Schrodinger, basing on light as a wave, he was able to develop the Schrodinger equation, and basing on the Schrodinger equation, he was developing Schrodinger wave mechanics, where the matter or the reality is interpreted as a wave. But on the other hand, Heisenberg is coming up with another interpretation, that there is a matrix. If the state of a system, like pressure, volume, time, energy, if they can all be placed in a matrix, then we can manipulate them, and then we can get the results. So two methods of solving the problems, and we say that these two different Heisenberg's matrix mechanics and Schrodinger's wave mechanics are the two subspaces in Hilbert space. Hilbert space is not a physical space, but an infinite mathematical space. So we see that, there is an infinite mathematical space. There are two sub structures, and these are complementary. So a reality can be represented in vectorial fashion, or in a symbolic way in the Hilbert space. We can manipulate, and we get the result. And these results have to be again related to the reality. For that, we need to have certain principles. And these are the principles which are the uncertainty principle given by Heisenberg, complementarity principle given by Niels Bohr, and the probability by Max Born. So what does it mean? Suppose that you are driving a cycle or a motorbike. So if you want to find the speed, then you have to go fast. But if you are trying to find the place where you are, you may have to stop. So when you are stopping, then you are losing. You may be gaining the exact position, but you will be losing the speed. So the uncertainty is that when you are measuring conjugate variables like energy and time, position and momentum, then there will be a measure of error that is known as delta x into delta y less than or equal to h bar. H bar is the Planck's constant. So that means there will be an error. So you cannot make an absolute precise certain measurement. There will be always an inaccuracy there. So that is the one is the uncertainty and the complementarity. The whole reality can be expressed in terms of two ways, that is particles or as waves. So these are the two ways of expressing the reality, and these two comprehensively exhibit the totality of reality. So we can express it into different terms, subject and object, intuition and rationality, man and woman, subject and object. So Niels Bohr come up with this principle of complementarity, and you might be aware that the yin and yang. And then the probability relations. Where can you find an electron? We can find an electron only in probable ways. You can give only a kind of a percentage. You may not be absolutely certain about exactly here you can find. It's only maybe it is like, you are tossing the coin 10 times, and how many times it will be on the head? It may be 6 times or 5 times or 4 times and all the other times. So you can only predict not in terms of the certainty, but only in terms of probable. So all of them together, now we have what is known as indeterminism. That means we are unable to absolutely determine. On the other hand, theory of relativity and classical physics will be explaining that it is possible. We can have, if you know the state of the system, and since we know the law, we are applying it, and with absolute predictability, we can get the results. We can find the position or time or energy of the state after some time. So that way, that no certainty. Classical physics and relativity, we will be having absolute certainty. But in quantum mechanics, we have only uncertainty, and we can only say in probable terms. And another important aspect is that the observer is observed. The classical physics and the theory of relativity, we are detached. You can observe, we can measure a particle or through the instrument, and you will get an objective result. But in quantum mechanics, this is what Niels Bohr used to say, that the observer is observed. That is, the consciousness of the observer is also becoming part of the whole system. The consciousness of the person is becoming part and parcel of the whole observing system. So there is no detachable, there is no objective measurement. And we have also the collapse of the wave function. Another important problem, that is, the state of the system can be placed in a psi function, that is the state of the system, but there are infinite possibilities. So out of these infinite possibilities, when we are making a measurement from these infinite possibilities, it simply jumps into just one. How is it possible? There were many questions, interpretations, but yet we don't have a clear answer about the collapse of the wave function. From the infinite possibilities, how once the measurement is made, how we are capable of just falling into one particular aspect. So basing on all this, we can say that there is an indeterminism. That is, the material reality is interpreted differently in classical and relativity and in quantum mechanics. So there is a big debate between whether it is determinism or indeterminism. Those who are following the classical physics, that is like Einstein and the others, were claiming that quantum mechanics is incomplete. So they were trying to make certain challenges and questions, and one of them is known as EPR, that is Einstein Podolsky Rosen thought experiment, which we will come later. So we can see what is this quantum jump, which I explained earlier. So here the ground state, and this is the electron, and as the energy it is absorbing in terms of quantum, it jumps into the higher orbits, and it is in an excited state. But this excited state cannot be always remaining infinitely. It has to fall back, and depending upon this falling back, it will be shedding its extra energy into different colors. And you can see that, here it is green. So the different Lyman, Paschen, Balmer, Fund, and the various. So this is known as the quantum jump. So we can have certain applications, some metaphorical way of interpreting this to our everyday life. So if you are asking me what is exactly the quantum mechanics deals with the life or the spirituality, I would say that there is no way of direct influence, but we can say that, a metaphorical way of explaining our own human life in terms of these various scientific explanations. So this is the excited states. You can see that, from the ground state, it goes to the higher and higher orbits, and it will be falling back into the ground state. So this is also a way of metaphorical. When we are excited, we will be having more energy. We will be active, and we will be capable of doing much greater things than when we are in the ground state. So the possibilities of how it is capable of reaching out to the higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of life experiences. I think this is something which each one can design, and each one can jump into their own higher orbits. There is again another very interesting topic, that is quantum tunneling. You see that, there is a particle. So here an energy barrier. This particle is unable to jump into the higher levels. But you could see that, this particle, instead of jumping over, it will be making a tunnel and tunneling through and coming to the other side. So these are some of the subtle ways the particles are playing, jumping over, tunneling. And these are some of the subtle ways that, in human life, we are also capable of acquiring. And this is something which I said that, non-locality. That is the EPR, Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen thought experiment, where Einstein wanted to show that, this is quantum mechanics is wrong. Quantum mechanics is violating relativity. Suppose that, see, these are two particles. One is A and the other is B. The A particle is left spinning and the particle B is right spinning. And if we are bringing them together, they are known as an entangled state. And we are separating them again, and maybe sending the B to Boston. And then I am changing the left spinning into the right spinning. You know what happens? B, which is the right spinning, will instantaneously turning in from right to the left. That is when A, which was left spinning, turned into right, B, which was right spinning, and it will be turned into left. So though there are distances in space, there is a super luminal connectivity. This is what Einstein wanted to show, that theory of relativity, that is the light barrier, the maximum speed any signal can move is that of the light. And there are here in the EPR thought experiment, we find that particles are moving faster. Some transluminal signals are there, they are instantaneously. So it shows that there is some super luminal connectivity, and the theory of relativity is broken. And this is now known as quantum non-locality, and which has so much of applications in many of quantum cryptography, quantum computing, and many other levels. So this is also in a way symbolically, you can see that, you know, these two particles are connected. They are not separated anymore. They were closely related. It can also be symbolically, we can say that, you know, it is with the other, maybe the other person, or it can be also about, you know, the divine and the human, how they are all related. This can also be connected with the three. So in 1982, Alan Aspect, he has conducted this EPR thought experiment, and he showed that there is a violation of the theory of relativity. And in 1997, Anton Zeilinger in Innsbruck, he also conducted on three particles and showed that, you know, the theory of relativity that is broken. So some of the Copenhagen interpreters will say that this is not a reality, that, you know, this is violated. But there are still the debates going on how this is happening. But the quantum non-locality is now almost a reality now, which has so much of applications everywhere. So this is also in a way of giving us inspiration, so how we need to be related. So another important aspect is that, you know, the macrocosm and the microcosm, universe, and how we are all related. As I said in the very beginning, that, you know, we can see that matter is one end of the string, or the chain of being, and the spirit is the other end. We can also see that, you know, there are different religious dimensions, like Buddhists, they were thinking about the mandala, where there is a field, and integrating the different disciplines together to transform the person into a meditating model. So we can say that, you know, these are the great personalities, Buddha, Christ, Krishna, and all such great leaders. So they are inspiring to us, and in their value system, if we are imbibing, then we are also becoming into their fields, and we are becoming more compassionate, more affectionate, more integrated with the value system. And this is also something to be connected with the modern neuro science. So being into these value systems, we can also transform ourselves into a mindfulness. And in the Indian great philosophical tradition, we used to say that, you know, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. That means there is a family relationship. We all belong to one family. That means not only the human beings, but the whole of the creation. So there are, I also informed you about, you know, there are different interpretations in quantum mechanics. And David Bohm was a great scientist who himself given contributions very much into the scientific fields, known as Bohm-Aharonov effect, or Bohm-Aharonov effect, Cherenkov radiations, and many other scientific contributions. So what is this Bohm Aronoff effect? Suppose that you have a solenoid and then a light ray is passing through near to the solenoid. These light rays will be split into the different colors. How it is possible? There was no explanation. But basing on this, David Bohm came up with the interpretation that there is a quantum potential. A solenoid, you will not find any magnetic or electrical potential, but he saw that why there would be the splitting of the light rays, and he came up with the position with the clarification that there is a quantum potential, and this quantum potential is capable of giving this Bohm-Aronoff effect, the splitting of the light rays. So he, basing on that, in 1951 he gave the hidden variable interpretation, and then later he has given further developed into the field theories, and he came up with a very substantial holistic interpretation or ontological interpretation. So quantum potential is a guiding potential. So the quantum potential will be something like a wave which will be guiding the particle. So the complementarity, where we have that, the particle and the wave as two objective realities depending upon the experimental setup. But in the Bohmian interpretation, we can see that the quantum potential is guiding the particle. Maybe in a metaphorical way, we can say that, the microcosm and the macrocosm. The microcosm is guiding the macrocosm. That is, the spirit and the mind is guiding the human person. Or we can also say that, the divine, which I said that earlier, that, in the different religious traditions, there is only one God, but we have different normal lectures for that. So this can also be considered as the infinite potential, the divine as the infinite potential, or the infinite space, as we say in the quantum mechanics, that is the Hilbert space. So we are all part of this divine. There is also the continuity and also the discontinuity. So there is again a few aspects which we can derive from the quantum mechanics. That is randomness. What is this randomness? Look at this figure. Now we can see that, there is no order. Now we can see that there is an order. Suppose that you are on the you are in front of the sea. You see the waves coming in and going. Maybe one day you are being there, you will be capable of seeing that, there is an order. So even in the randomness, we can find an order. Behind the chaos, there can be an order. There is again something known as the fractal. So you can see that, how the spiral, or you can see that the different leaves or the plants, flowers, where there will be the miniatures. So what is there is that the hologram, a very small portion of the hologram, you can project the whole there. So even in the smaller speck, you can find the whole. So the relationship between the macrocosm and the microcosm. In the microcosm, you could also find the macrocosm. The modern neurologist will be saying this: in your ear or in your feet, there are acupressure, acupuncture, and then various other medicines, Reiki and many others. You know what they are trying to do? In certain precise places, If you are either pressure or injecting something, you could influence the brain or the other part of the body. So the human body can be brought into a hologram. So the whole nature, we could find that it is a hologram, even in a tiny smaller space. So this is what David Bohm used to say, that his ontological interpretation or his holistic interpretation, where you could see that there is something which is guiding the other one. So they are inextricably intertwined. So the whole cosmos and the human being, they are all interrelated. We cannot simply, as in the classical physics, where we say that, an objective reality. We are closely related, we are closely associated. So now I am just trying to bring up whatever I said. What is this spirituality? Spirituality is a life organizing a transcendental vision, and it is beyond the material reality. I am sure that you are well aware about the Nachiketsas, the story of the Nachiketsas. So the question, what is beyond, what is death, what is the purpose of life, what is beyond death, what is meaningfulness, this is the place where we need to have a comprehensive way. That is through only a complementary pursuit of science and spirituality, we can have a holistic account. As I said earlier with the particle and wave, whatever science is giving us is a kind of a life facilitating mechanism. All the gadgets that helps us to facilitate life, but that doesn't mean that it is giving a completeness. We need meaning, and from where the meaning can come? Meaning can come only from the spiritual pursuit, a transcendent outlook, not merely from the material principles, but with the principles we are deriving from there to guide us and to transcend what is. So we have to make quantum leaps. Sometimes we need to be tunneling where we have these problems. So spirituality is a meaning giving mechanism. It is not mere ritualism. We have to transcend, make quantum leaps to higher dimensions of wider horizons. So we have also the Indian philosophical perspective that these are panchakoshas. And from these panchakoshas, you can see that, Annamaya, I have changed the pranamaya into a higher level. So Annamaya, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, and Anandamaya. So you see that, this is a place where I have defined it here, part of the mindfulness park. So these are all jumping from a vegetative Annamaya, we have to jump into the higher levels of Vijnanamaya, and then from there to the Manomaya, and then to the spiritual, that is the Pranamaya. And what is ultimately remaining there is the bliss. Or we can, in another perspective, we can say that it is the stable Sthita Prajna. Whether you are praised, whether you are criticized, you will be always remaining as always stable, Sthita. You are not wobbling. So this is something which enables us to have. So again, we can see that it can also be how we have to jump into the higher orbits. This can also be anger. This can also be jealousy. This can also be other pleasure pursuits. But ultimately, for happiness, wellness, all these we can correlate. This is again another three ponds, symbolically representing what is this microcosm, the human person. You can see that these are three circles, but three ponds all connected together. So this is a 4 feet, and this is a 5 feet, and this is 6 feet. We are constituted of body, mind, and the spirit, or we are physical, we are psychical, and we are pneumatic. That is the spiritual. So there will be a kind of flowing from the physical to the mental to the spiritual. Our problems can be because we are not holistic, we are not connected, we are not integrated. We go when we have some problems, maybe we are just going for physical medicine. Maybe the problem is from the psyche, maybe it is from the pneuma, from the spirit, from the soul. So therefore, if you want to improve your own personality, you need to have a holistic outlook. You have to clean the whole of your body, mind, and the spirit. So there should not be a kind of a discontinuity. We need to have, these are all part of the long chain, which I said that. So the matrix of our own existence, all these complexities we have to put into a single structure. That means the wave and the particle, as they are brought together, we have the body, mind, and the spirit, they have to be brought together. So the ability to absorb the whole of the chain of being, order, disorder, continuity, discontinuity, local and non-local, randomness and orderliness, individuation and rationality, individual and community life, left and the right brain, and we are all embodied spirit. We are the concrete and the abstract. There will be very objective realities, but also there will be abstract things. So we have to have a matrix of our own existence. All these different realities have to be put together. So the materiality and spirituality, we have to manipulate the centripetal and centrifugal forces to be successful to choreograph our own life. There is a personal and impersonal God. There is something beyond the name and form. We are divided because that we are all having different names for our own God, but there is only one God. The divine is always Arupa and Amurta. It is formless and nameless. So therefore, our own existence is a kind of a matrix. And we have, as I said earlier, it is not a direct intervention from the principles from quantum mechanics, but we can derive a metaphorical way of understanding our own life. The dance of the particles, jump of the particles, the cosmos, even the body and the spirit, we are all together. Whenever we have a holistic account, there will be body and mind and the spirit coming together, there will be wholeness. Whenever there is wholeness, there will be wellness. And whenever wellness is there, we will have happiness. When all these are together, we could say that there is the holiness. So I conclude, we need to choreograph our own life with compassion, spontaneity, love, and music in the labyrinth of this universe, and simulate a meaningful life. So what the crux of my lecture is that quantum spirituality is a metaphorical way of choreographing our own life from the principles which we can derive from quantum mechanics and apply it into our own lives, so that we can have quantum leaps, quantum tunneling, and non-local connectivity with other human beings, with other beings, and with the eternal being. And this will be the last slide. See, we are moving through the labyrinth of life. And we also see that there is the choreograph of the universe, the cosmos. The cosmos, this is the collision of the galaxies. That is our own Milky Way galaxy. After millions of years, it will be colliding with Andromeda galaxy to form another super galaxy. So we are, every moment we are collided with our own experiences, but these experiences are to be integrated in a holistic way to have wholeness, wellness, happiness, and holiness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Matthew Chandran Kunal. Yes, Professor, you took us on a great ride across the choreographed universe as well as the labyrinth of life. Thank you very much once again. Now I will invite questions from audience. If anyone has got any question to the speaker, he may raise his hand and then I will unmute you and then you can pose the question. Let the questions be short and very pointed question. I will entertain only question. So there is a question by Shravan. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thank you for this wonderful lecture. I hope I am audible. And I have two questions. So one is, where is the consciousness lies? You said that there are three parameters, three entities: body, mind, and soul. So where actually the consciousness lies? That is first question. And second question. So in scientific understanding, is there any correlation between this macroscopic and microscopic view? Spiritually, we can understand it a bit from your presentation. It is a bit clear as well. But scientifically, how we can understand that? Or is there any remote chance that we can get a concept?
So, thank you. Shravan, Shravan is the one who asked me the question. Sure?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The first one is, where is the consciousness? See, we are carrying the consciousness on our head. But unfortunately, the consciousness is the reality which we are unable to explain in the best way. We might be able to speak about our whole universe, but the consciousness is something which we are endowed with, but we are trying to understand. Maybe we can say that biologically in every cell there is the consciousness, but in the most prominent way it is in the brain. But brain does not the only place where we have the consciousness. It is an integral or an integrated version of our own consciousness. So whether it is simply the physical body or the psychical body or the spiritual body, in our own the whole spiritual classics, irrespective of whether it is Hindu, Christian, Islamic, Buddhist, or they all speak about Sthula Sharira, Sushma Sharira, and many of these separate how these are all connected in the most scientific way. But science has a basic limitation, I would say, because what is science? What is observable? The science has a tendency to deny whatever is non-observable. So therefore, we could see that, Auguste Comte in the 1930s were speaking about that, science is the only religion. The metaphysical, the philosophical, the spiritual, the religious, they all have to be eliminated. So that is what they said. And then the modern scientists like Stephen Hawking, then Dawkins, they were all claiming that, only science is needed, everything else. But what is the present context? The present context shows us that there is a microscopic virus which shut down the whole universe. We do not know from where we will get it, whether we will die today or tomorrow because of this virus, whether the vaccines. See, we have made the vaccines, but still people are getting. So science has its own limitations. Science has its own credits, but science has an overarching claim to deny certain realities. So therefore, what is the correlation between the microscopic and the macroscopic? Maybe speaking from the scientific perspective, you may not find, but we can also say that, you are made up of atoms which were part of the stardust. Only the higher elements we have because of the star which has collapsed, and then the whole earth is part of the second constellation of the solar collapse. Otherwise, we would not have this much of uranium and other elements. So I would say that specifically looking from the perspective of science, the correlation between the microscopic and the macroscopic may not be directly found. And the first question, where consciousness lies, I think it is everywhere. We have our own consciousness, and maybe the universal consciousness will also be there. Even tiny plants may have its own consciousness. That is what Jagadish Chandra Bose and the others were saying. So we are in the process of learning. So I am unable to tell you in a very concrete way what is consciousness, where is consciousness, whether we have a correlation between the macroscopic and the microscopic from a very pure scientific perspective. I hope this is the limit I can, Shravan, give to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that reply was elaborate, but yes, there are limitations in understanding consciousness. Thank you. So we'll take second question. This time this question is from Ritvik. So Ritvik, you can unmute yourself and let the question be short.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sir, I would like to know, like, you have shown in one experiment, like one wave or a signal is traveling faster than light. Am I correct, sir?
You have anything more to say, please?
Yes, sir. Like if something could able to travel faster than light, So will the aging stop in that situation? Like, can we live for eternity?
Is a very good question. See, I can tell you that yeah, there is something in the mathematics, that perturbation theory and all, where the light will be the maximum speed anything can. That is the theory of relativity. In order to show that that is violated, Einstein came up with this Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen thought experiment, and then we have this non-locality. So how this non-locality transluminal signal is working, that is again, I must say that it is still unclear. But I can say that there is a scientist known as ECG Sudarshan, who proposed that there are certain particles which can move faster than light, and he called it as tachyons. And suppose that we are using tachyons and using it as a rocket engine. If I am traveling to the moon today, I will be reaching the moon yesterday. These are known as quantum psychedelic events, because the whole life is based on light rays, and the light ray is traveling today, but the tachyon, which is faster than light, is capable of overtaking that light, and it will be reaching much faster, and yesterday's light only be reaching in the moon. So mathematically, the ECG Sudarshan's tachyon rays are viable, mathematically correct, but in reality, whether it is possible. So the scientists are speculating today whether light rays is a kind of a middle. We can have lesser than light rays velocities. We can also have particles which can move faster than light. So at present, this non-locality is possible. How it is happening, those things are yet to be cleared. So therefore, your question, aging, whether it will be possible to stop with this reality, that stopping the light ray, I think that we need to have some other biological processes in order to stop aging rather than the light ray. So there are still people thinking that we can keep our body in super cooled chambers and then we can resuscitate a person. So there are many different ways of keeping aging away, and also look for eternity. But I think the whole body, whole cell is created for a limited period of time. We are unable to have in eternity with our physical body. So Ritvik, this is my answer to you. I don't know whether you will be satisfied with this.
Yeah, Ritvik, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, okay, sir. I will.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can lower your hand now. So next question is from Sariek Kappen. Please unmute yourself.
Good morning, everyone. So my question is about experiential. Say, for example, I do transcendental meditation, and just the effort of doing the transcendental meditation, I don't get that the bliss or the level. So what I mean, it says that the work itself makes it fail. It's like work, non-work, just like the probability, the Schrodinger's wave equation, where you have the uncertainty between wave and particle. So this issue makes me always fail. I'm not sure what that is what the experience. And what I'm trying to do is to see what is the best way. Is it the TM or is the mindfulness to jump each level of consciousness? Any opinion, even if an opinion, not necessarily answer, would be good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Cyriac, thank you for getting early and listening to this lecture. See, we have different kinds of medicine. Suppose that, see, today also the vaccination, we have Pfizer, Covaxin, Covishield, and many are there. So some will be good for something, like it seems that Covishield is said to be for good for um, the special Delta variety of um, COVID, or a mutated one. But in the same way, maybe there are people who are experiencing TM as the best way. Some others will be saying that the Sankirtan, that means the reciting of the name, and some others would say that something else. So each person may be needed to find to which rhythm he should follow, he or she should follow. May not be every tool may not be useful for one particular activity. The same way, as a meditative process, there are many which is useful for a person may not be useful for someone else. So therefore, you need to see which one is probable for you, and that will enable you. If it is not, then you need to use something else. We cannot simply say that this is not. I just take the example of Edison. Edison, in order to make light, he used almost 20,000 elements, and then at last only he found that that tungsten is good for making light. Then you know what he said? Yes, I was learning that this is not useful, this is not useful. At last I found. The same way, you need to look for which is best for you, and you have to look for further other opportunities which will enable you to have what is suitable for you. Cyriac, I am not sure whether you are satisfied with my answer.
Cyriac, please unmute yourself and tell me.
Thank you, Father. I got the answer. I understand it's the journey of the life. Okay, I get it now.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Father.
Thank you. Now we take the question from Jagdishwar.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir. So my question is like, how can I understand the higher things in life? Like, for example, like soul, consciousness, etc. by using science.
See, there is a saying that if your mind is not accepting certain things, your eyes will not be seeing it. There are many experiments which were conducted. If your mind is not preparing yourself to see it, it might not be seeing. So in order to perceive the higher levels of life, like as you said, the mind and the soul and other things, first of all, you need to accept that there are certain things like that. Then only you will be capable of finding it. If you are looking from the perspective that they are not existing, they will not be existing for you. Whatever ways you will be trying to search for it, find it, it will not be. So when in reality you believe that certain such things are there existing, then only you will be capable of finding it. See, first we have certain particles. Only when scientists theorized it, as an example, we can say that Marconi in 1886, or he found that radio waves. Till that time, nobody believed in radio waves. We could not have radio or other different varieties of things basing on that. But when he proposed and he made an instrument, and then people could see electrons, they were not believing in it. And then you see, now we are speaking about quarks. Only when scientists theorized and then they sought for it and only could find it. So the first way of Jagdish is we should be open for the other realities. If you are capable of perceiving them, looking for it, definitely the higher, that is the beginning. And then by step, or leaps, you could find and you could reach to the higher levels. This is what all the great spiritual masters would be telling us.
Thank you, Professor. Now we have one more question by Niket. Yes, Niket, keep it short, please. Unmuted.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir, for your presentation on quantum consciousness. My first question is how unaffected by variations happening, like in last slide you told that by becoming conscious, by gaining more knowledge and pursuing our interest towards it, we can get happy in life. So it is a general question that but we keep on doing things like you in on one another slide you told that Annamaya there to Anandamaya there are several stages in between. So before completing intermediate stage we won't be able to analyze the higher stages. So we have to keep exploring different things, then only our mind thinks okay this is not correct, then we have to go there, this is not interesting. So it keeps confusing and then how it is means happening, then means how can we become happy if our mind keeps on exploring different things and keep on testing and experimenting them.
Niket,
Yes, sir.
my
Because our knowledge is incomplete only.
yes, my question to you is that um, see, when you are in the first standard, are you satisfied with that? You saw that there is
No,
something more
sir.
to learn. Then you went to the second, third, fourth, maybe the school is over. Then you have PUC, then you have graduation, then you have masters, then you have PhD. And even in PhD, you would not be able to find everything. So one thing is that you need to have search for is going beyond what you are. So any situation need not be satisfying you. You should look for the higher and higher dimensions. I think this is what the human person is endowed with. Never we are absolutely satisfied with what you have at present, but looking for higher. So you will be there is something known as unsatisfactory, or you will have a drive to go to the higher and higher, and then ultimately you will be, whether there will be a stage whether you will be satisfied. I think that there will not be a stage where you will be satisfied. You will still going on learning. So this is exactly what science would say, that you are improving. You are every day you are changing. You are learning more and more. So maybe in a scientific perspective, I can say that, it is an asymptotic process. You will never reach into a absolutely happy, but that unhappiness will be driving you to more, and which will be later into a higher level of happiness. So therefore, you need not, it is more than confusing. I think we are endowed with drives which enables us always to look for better. That is what science teaches us. Improve yourself every day. You see that the computer, if we are satisfied with the first computer, then we will not have the 6th generation, 8th generation, 10th generation. Mobile, every now and then, you are coming up with the better and better qualities. So this is part of life. You are satisfied yet unsatisfied, and this unsatisfaction helps us to go to higher, better, and refined. I think this process, asymptotic process, is part of not only the scientific but also the spiritual life. There is no static, though I said that Siddha Prajna, but still you have to go into higher levels.
Thank you. Niket, you have one more question, the last question. Please speak it out.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, as means time permits. Okay, last question. Thank you for allowing. Last question is like, he said here, like light is composed of electrons, and therefore we can see dual means role of light. I think like particle and wave nature. Similarly, can you relate, or is there any research going on related to life also? Like life has the basic unit as spirit, and then spirit consists of consciousness. So is there any consciousness also dual or nature, or any such kind of research like light having dual nature? So consciousness can it be related, or any such research is there in this? Yes, sir. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
Niket, thank you for this subtle question, whether consciousness is also dual. We have not yet come up with what exactly is consciousness. But even in the Indian philosophical and experiential level, we always used to say that, Artha Narishwara. This Artha Narishwara is taken by Carl Jung. Carl Jung was saying that, animus and anima. So even in the consciousness, this could be there. That is, one person is having different perspectives. Maybe in the psychological perspective, they will call it as, multi bipolar. It is a disease. Multipolar is also a disease. But consciousness having many perspectives is a possibility. But when you have it as a wholeness, integrated, holistic one, then can only be it can produce anything, any results. So whether the consciousness is only as Shankara would say that Advaita, there is no duality, there is only one uniqueness, consciousness, or there are many. These are subtle questions which at this level I think that we are unable to explain. But I will hope that people like you, you can perceive further.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. And thank you everyone for asking such wonderful questions. Now, as the concluding session, I like to request Professor Prabhat Kumar Singh to speak few words in appreciation for today's talk, and as well as our speaker, Professor Matthew. I'll first unmute you. You can unmute now. And
yes, namaskar, Professor Matthew. Thank you, the organizers who have given me this opportunity to appreciate you. I was just listening and I was just trying to understand. And the vast scientific background you have given and the correlation you brought from this from physics side to this, and then to a spirituality side. I was just trying to understand. I mean, we have very limited exposition for this, physics background or quantum physics and others, but still we know from the consciousness perspective, we have heard about that. And then your deep knowledge, your deep research on that, that is always, I feel it will be beneficial to the participants who are a part of this, gathering. And so from a learner's perspective, I must admire the kind of simplistic way, the way you have presented, it was good for me. I was just trying to see it in a sequential way. And then finally, our, participants have also raised very interesting questions which you were trying to answer. These questions also give many times various types of in-depth kind of or perspective from which angle we should see or we may see those. So thank you very much for your, and I saw the very title was also very interesting.
Okay, I think there's a network problem. On the side of Professor Prabhat Kumar Singh. So as a last now, I will request Swami Jitundhal.
To me.
Yeah. Yeah, Professor Prabhat, you may continue.
Yeah, I have done. Actually, I got disconnected, so I have, done my job. I pay my respects to Professor Matthew for his wonderful, lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you,
Prabhat
thank
ji.
you, thank you, Professor Prabhat. Now, our Swamiji Jitundhal, Swamiji Muktaji, I'll request him to express our gratitude to Professor Matthew on behalf of Bhaktivedanta Institute, Bhubaneswar.
Good evening, Father.
Good evening, Jitundhal.
Yeah.
Swamiji.
Yeah. Thanks for your busy schedule. You make it, and thanks for your nice talk. It is very informative and thought-provoking. Definitely, this is very, very useful for all our students, and we recommend the inter students to take your able guidance at your convenience. Hoping to listen from you frequently. Thanks. Please bless us. So, as you know, our Dr. Singh. So, if you have anytime see you are visiting Agra and Vrindavan, there is a Samadhi of Dr. T.D. Singh. Please visit also sometimes. As well as also if you are visiting Bhubaneswar, please visit us. Thank you for excellent talk.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Yeah.
Now, we have come to the end of the talk. I will request Professor Matthew, Father, to conclude his talk with some more words of wisdom, please.
Thank you, Prabhat Kumar, Professor Prabhat Kumar Singh and Swamiji Jitundhal for your nice and kind words. Yes, if possible, I will be happy to come to Agra and then visit my friend Swamiji's place. I was informed about he was sick, I think maybe due to some accident or some throwing bombs or something. That was what I was informed. Then he was in Agra and then he passed away. So yes, it was really, I thought that he will be continuing that great work of integrating science, religion, and I gratefully remember him for his friendship and also the great wisdom and the smile he has transmitted. And I remember, I think your president, Bhaktivedanta president, was a close associate, always seen with him there in US and many other places. So I am absolutely sure that we will come either meet personally here or there. And I have been a few times to Bhubaneswar, but unfortunately I couldn't come and meet you in person. Maybe some other time. Definitely there will be chances of coming to you, and I thank all of you. And Sushant was coordinating, and all the participants who are patiently listening to me. Maybe I was going above your head or below your head, but I think I was always like Upanishad. I was sitting beside you. That is, I think this is what we have to learn. I was also learning through your questions, and this great Upanishadic search, which is from the very beginning of our own cultural tradition. Let us continue sitting beside and learning from each other, so that we are capable of growing into higher levels of consciousness, making into quantum leaps, and knowing and experiencing and reaching out into the divine, one with the divine. So thank you to all of you, and wish you all the best. Yes, good day, good evening, good night. Thank you.
Father, towards the end, the point which I missed, I mean, I invite you from the core of my heart. I'm from Varanasi. Sometimes if when you are in a program towards this part of India, you are most welcome to visit Varanasi. And I am a part of IIT BHU Varanasi. So our friends will help you to locate me. And I am here. If you are visiting towards this side, Varanasi, you are most welcome. We will be taking some times to interact and enrich ourselves. So nice.
Thank you, sir. Varanasi, I would love to. I have been a number of times there, and I used to come and teach. There is a college in Krishnanagar. So Varanasi is something very fascinating. The great place of yes, abode of the divine. We have all religious traditions are grooming there. Thank you, sir. Definitely, I will be coming. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Now we'll conclude the session, and thank you, Father. And I wish everyone a great day, a great life. Please stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sushant. If you can send me the
Sure. The
recording, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll share with Swami Jitendra.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.